Airline ticket prices are up 25% in the last year, where Forbes calculates the average cost for a round-trip domestic flight within the US to be $427, which the average cost for a 3-day vacation including hotels, food, and a car rental comes out to be nearly $1,400. Now, although flying is an amazing perk to travel across the country and even the entire world, depending on your position, this may not be the right time for you. So I'm about to cover how much flying is really costing you, how much you should save based off of your income, and then near the end of the video, I'll cover different ways on how you can reduce the costs so you can do more things with your money. With that said, let's get straight to it by first going over flight costs in more detail. Now, there's a popular rule for budgeting that is the 50-30-20 rule, which states 50% of your income should go toward needs, 30% toward wants, and 20% towards savings and retirement, which travel is considered as a want. So let's say right now you are making $5,000 of after-tax income per month, where you enjoy taking a 3-day weekend vacation every month. Well, based on the averages, that could cost you roughly $1,400, which out of a $5,000 income, that is roughly 30% of your paycheck, which theoretically that means for the rest of the month, you shouldn't spend money on anything that's a want. Now, assuming your finances are straightened out, a generic rule of thumb I'd recommend is to consider aiming for 10% of your income to be saved and go towards travel. So for a $5,000 income, that means you should save $500 each month, which is crucial because a recent study reported that 36% of Americans plan to take on debt in order to pay for summer trips. But in regards to flights, operations for airlines come at such a high cost, they have super low margins, and they try to do everything they can possible to increase their profits. You may have experience with low-cost carriers like Frontier or Spirit, where they advertise super low ticket prices, but then they charge you for every single add-on that they can think of. All in all, after going to an aeronautical university for 6 years and discussing this with others, a reasonable estimate for a basic round-trip flight in today's economy could have these expenses. The basic starting airfare price for a domestic flight could be between $50 to $500 and up. For international, you could see starting prices between $400 to $2,000 and up, which you'll then have traditional taxes and fees such as government taxes, airport fees, fuel surcharge, especially for those international flights, which for many, you may see checked bags being in the range from $30 all the way up to $100 each direction. And for carry-ons, that could be about $25 all the way up to $100 as well each direction, where sometimes you'll even see carry-ons be more expensive than a checked bag. Which if you have oversized luggage, you'll also have to pay even more in fees, which could range from $30 to $400 depending on the situation. In regards to seats, if you need to pick them, then that could cost you an extra $15 to $30 on average per direction, where the more premium seats would be much more. Besides that, you may end up spending money in the airport or on the flight for things like food, drinks, Wi-Fi, entertainment, which of course you don't have to do any of those. But from there, you may also have other add-ons like priority boarding, lounge access, TSA pre-check, and don't forget airport parking, public transportation, or even an Uber to the airport. All in all, let's just say that you decided to take on a round-trip flight. You may see starting prices at $89, but in reality, you may end up adding a carry-on for $40 each way, so that's $80 right there. You may even want to pick your own seat, which could be an extra $20 each way, so that's $40. And let's say you end up having to park at the economy lot for 3 days, that may be $50. And then any other taxes, fees, or add-ons could turn a basic flight you thought could be around $100 to end up costing you close to $300. But doing that, let's say you fly twice a month because you have friends or family in other states, or you just want to explore. From flights alone, that means your travel would be $600 per month, which is $7,200 per year solely on flights. And if you make $5,000 per month, that means flying is taking up 12% of your income, where that number could easily be higher depending on how you travel. And say you need to fly at an exact time and you don't really have much flexibility, you may end up having to buy a $500 ticket, and at that point, what is even a budget? So besides flights, here's a quick breakdown on how much expenses beyond flights could be costing you. According to Forbes, there's an expected $500 if you stay 3 nights at a hotel. A 3-day car rental could be $147. There's also $312 going toward eating out, which that could definitely be lower if you want it to be. But you could also have additional expenses like particular activities you do, say you go to a concert, or the extra cost to take care of your pets while you're gone, or if you bring your pets with you, there will be extra fees, or if you need to take time off of work, work, for some of you, you may not get paid time off. Now, yes, traveling is meant to experience things and enjoy life, but if you can do it affordably and not have to pay 30% of your income in one weekend, you may be in a much better financial position. Which I will say, I've also started traveling much more recently, and I've definitely noticed how the expenses could add up over time. And also seeing the article that stated 36% of Americans plan to take on debt to pay for summer trips really sparked the idea for this video. So whether you're the 5% getting it from a personal loan, or the 8% doing the buy now, pay later service, or the 6% getting a loan from family or friends, the article also states 26% of summer travelers intend to use a credit card and pay it back over multiple billing cycles. Which, with interest on credit cards potentially being over 20%, that just means that you are losing more and more money the longer it takes you to pay it off. With that said, let's now go over the opportunity cost you get from flying. Now, opportunity cost is pretty much the value that you're missing out on because of a specific choice you make. For starters, the amount of time you'll spend going to and from the airport, waiting to get your checked bags or get through security, then to wait at the gate, the chance of delays, the entire process of boarding, and by the time you officially get to your destination, you might also have to wait for your checked bag. With all this, you could literally be traveling an entire day, which you also have the flight back, so that could be nearly 2 full days. Aside from that, you also have the financial opportunity cost because you are paying a large amount of money up front, where over an entire year, if you did 2 round trips every month, that'd be $7,200 that you could have used for other things or even investments for the ability to eventually make money for you. I'm not saying don't travel because I do a ton, but I'm just talking about the financial cost. And to keep it brief with calculations, even $6,000 per year at 10% could end up being $1 million in 30 years, which in a Roth account, that would end up being completely tax-free. Now, I've personally been traveling a ton, but I'll spend the money on travel to have a great experience and enjoy life. I'm not gonna Dave Ramsey y'all, but it is extremely important to understand the position you're in and the cost you take on, because getting into that high interest debt is not the path you want to take. I will say I personally am extremely motivated to save money, but to more so increase my income so that I can invest into areas that could eventually provide a passive income, with the goal of once you reach a certain point, you can live off of the expenses while still maintaining value of whatever you invest into, and it can continue to grow over time. Whether it's a business, real estate, or the stock market, the idea is to put a ton of work into something where you can build it so big that you can take money out of it every single month, and the investment will still continue to grow significantly. Knowing all of this is the reason I create the content I do, so if you are interested to learn more about building wealth, consider subscribing with notifications on for future content like this. Now, besides time and financial cost, you are also missing out on productivity. Whether that be time working on the career you have, a side hustle, maybe it's a business you're starting, or say you're trying to get through a specific training or exam in order to increase your income, if you are traveling constantly, the ability to actually succeed in these areas is going to be much harder. But on the other end, with flying, you do get speed and accessibility to nearly any destination worldwide, all while enjoying life in a unique way. Because of that, here are some tips on how you can reduce the expenses of flying. For starters, when you're planning a trip, you definitely want to think ahead. According to a study by Expedia, data shows you ideally want to book around 60 days out, and for international travel, that should be at least 4 months ahead. The study literally found that alone could save you on average 10%. From there, another study found that flying on Mondays and Tuesdays are actually the cheapest days, being roughly 5% cheaper, where Friday and Saturday are by far the most expensive by over 5%. The article notes that it also depends on the airline, as Sunday is the best day to book a flight with American Airlines, JetBlue, and United Airlines, where Tuesday is the best day for booking flights with Frontier and Hawaiian Airlines. Obviously, there are many factors that could affect this, like trying to fly around Christmas time, or say there's a huge event going on in the city, but airline prices do fluctuate, so if you're a few months away, maybe keep an eye out on the prices for the next week or two before actually buying. All in all, the more flexibility you have, the better. I will say though, if you don't need any add-ons and can be super flexible, that low-cost carriers could definitely be the cheapest option for you. Another thing just to consider is comparing all airports and airlines that you could potentially fly with, because that could actually save you a lot of money if you do a few minutes of research. Besides that, I'd also recommend, if you have your finances straight, to consider credit cards that are beneficial for traveling. Now, I'm not saying to go get 5 different airline credit cards, but the credit card that you may already have, the issuer may have a travel credit card that you could greatly benefit from and even earn thousands of dollars of value in travel. For example, companies like Capital One with their Venture cards, American Express Gold or Platinum cards, or Chase with their Sapphire cards are some of the most dominating credit cards in the industry when it comes to their travel benefits. So currently I have what's called the Chase Trifecta, which is the Freedom Unlimited, Freedom Flex, and the Sapphire Preferred card that I have. But with the Freedom cards, I'm pretty much just using them on all types of purchases to rack in a ton of points, where I can then transfer all those points to the Sapphire card to redeem them for great travel benefits. And I will say travel credit cards like these do come at an annual fee, but that's because the value you're going to get from them can be so much more if you actually use them properly. For example, this Sapphire card that I currently have has a $95 annual fee, but just by starting, you can get a huge welcome bonus of 60,000 bonus points after you spend $4,000 on purchases in the first 3 months, which by using this card for travel, that means the bonus could be worth at least $750 depending on how you use the points. I say that though because the Sapphire cards allow you to gain access to Chase's travel partners, where you could transfer your points to any of these companies, where some of them could get you 2 to 4 times the value on your points if you take the time to really search around the options. But all that means is that 60,000 points, whether you earn them over time or you get it from the welcome bonus, that is a traditional cash value of $600, but having Chase's travel partners, you could be getting $1,200 to even $2,400 worth of value in travel. So if you just properly handle your finances, you could easily get a trip worth thousands of dollars for free using credit card points. And the last thing I'll mention on travel credit cards is that if you notice you're using the exact same airline every time, or you prefer one over all the others, you could look into getting a particular airline's credit card like Delta SkyMiles or Southwest Rapid Rewards, but I would really limit the amount of these that you have. Of course, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you decide to get any particular credit card and you use the sign up links I have in the description of any of my videos, I also earn a commission for that, and I'd greatly appreciate it. But once you book a flight, another tip to reduce expenses is to just bring a water bottle and any snacks that you want from home, because you can bring food through security. And then once you're at your destination, if you really want to save money, just don't eat out every meal and try to look for cheaper activities that you could do instead. And to also prevent yourself from taking on debt where you can't even save and invest any money, you need to really prioritize your savings for future travel. To do this, I recommend having a high yield savings account, because your money is still going to be liquid, meaning easily accessible to use, but you're going to earn much more interest than you would with many of the big banks. If you have $10,000 in a high yield savings account at 4%, you could get an extra $400 over the entire year, where with big banks like Chase at a 0.01%, you could get $1. So because of that, I've created a ton of videos on high yield savings accounts as well. If you want to check out those videos, I'll have direct links to them and other tools that you could use and benefit from in the description of this video. And as always, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button for future content like this.